Welcome back, everybody, to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to play Star Wars Rebellion solo. So there is not an official way to play this game solo. It's not solo out of the box, but there are several fan-made variants and several fan-made player aids that help you along with your solo campaign. The most notable one is, I guess he is actually given it a name now, is The Empire Attacks by Dale Buonocore. I will certainly put a link to his most recent, files in the description below, but he just recently in October kind of incorporated the Rise of the Empire expansion into his rule set, and he took some suggestions on things like combat, I believe. If you guys are familiar with the One Stop Co-op Shop channel, Colin originally did a playthrough using his original rules and had these suggestions for how to do combat and things. And I don't know if Dale took his suggestions to heart, but I see a lot of those similarities in this one. So I'll put a link to that video in the description below if you want to see someone else's playthrough of Star Wars Rebellion solo. But essentially all you are doing is establishing a set of rules for the Empire to hunt you down. And I'm trying to think here. Did I pull out? I don't think I did. Okay, so I forgot to pull out my probe card for my location, but that's fine. I will pull it out here in a second. I want to talk about first about how to set up the game. Essentially, you are setting up the game like normal. There is really no big difference except for, I believe, maybe he has given you how to spread out the Empire's pieces based upon what they would give you using the Rise of the Empire expansion rule set. So what I have done here is basically using a d6. I randomly drew the probe cards until I had 5 locations, plus Coruscant is always going to be for the Empire. And then I, added these are the first 2 I drew, subjugation markers, and then basically using a d6 where this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, spread everything out based upon his recommendation, which is essentially like 2 stormtroopers in every location, and roll a d6 and put ATST, and then everybody else gets a tanks and things like that. So very easy to follow. I also decided to play with the addition. This is something that came about essentially in the Rise of Empire expansion, but set up the Death Star under construction. Now he tells you to set it up in one of the remote locations with just a single triangle bit of production. So Malastare, Rhodia, Ryloth would have been one. I can't remember what Felucia, and Kessel. So that gave me 6 locations. I basically rolled a d6, and so we ended up with Ryloth up here, which is also subjugated. Then one of the rules that comes with the solo AI is that you need to choose a remote location for your base. So that is, for example, Endor, Hoth, Dagobah, any place that does not have production. So it does not have to be on the edges of the map. It's going to be one of these smaller planets here that you can still put people on. You can still, move people onto, but that's just how he has figured out that it works. Basically, I believe there's 8 of those locations. You choose one. I was supposed to shuffle the remaining 7 back in the deck. I accidentally shuffled them all, but I will fix that mistake here in a minute. And so I basically got my rebel pieces based upon the Rise of the Empire rule set, and I got to put them out anywhere I so choose, some of which in the rebel base. I also was given my places with rebel loyalty at the beginning based on random card draw, and luckily I got Mon Calamari, which is probably one of the best things to have, usually because it's way away from Coruscant over here. But I was given Mon Calamari, so I've got some people there protecting it. I also put some people here in Utapau and my Gito way over here in hopes of building up some alliances in those locations over the next few turns, because they also have really good production. Anyways, let's get back to setup here and what you need to do that's different from the standard setup, because I'm not going to go through all of the steps of setting up Star Wars Rebellion, because this is a big game. It does take some setup. It does take some time to understand. Actually, the rules really aren't that bad, but it is an epic game. It takes a while to play, which is why it's nice that you can play it solo, because I don't have to worry about convincing someone to sit down for 4 hours with me and give this game a go. I can play it as much as I can at night, let it sit, and come back the next day. So, what we have done for the Empire is, first of all, I have gone ahead and you can see the Empire has drawn an extra leader right off the bat. So I drew out 2 starting action cards for them randomly, and then I drew the top action card for him, and then I rolled a d6 between these 2. And so what did I get? I got Krennic's Finest here. So they actually start with 5 leaders every time, and then I essentially have gone ahead and taken care of this first one, which is an assignment, phase 1, and the immediate one. Now, the immediate one says to place one of your probe cards under here. Basically, that's the only probe cards that they have are ones that are of their starting locations, so they're just going to get a boost to their starting locations. I think usually you could put this if you had a probe card of a place that rebels were at, since those are secret to you, you could put it under there and then pop up on top of them, is what the card is meant to be. But the AI in this game definitely gets some benefits to being the AI, but they also occasionally do some things that you would not do as a human player, but that's okay. That kind of balances it out. But we also went ahead and immediately did the assignment one, which was to place Grand Moff Tarkin right here in any Imperial system, and following the Imperial rule, where do what would be least beneficial to you as the human player, I placed him in Corellia, which has the best production. And so that, along with a fully fledged Death Star, go into slot number 3. This happened only because I drew this action card during setup. So this one I'm kind of done with for now, and I'll just put over there off to the side. This other one here says start of combat, draw either 3 space tactic cards or 3 ground tactic cards. We don't use those anymore. This is not applicable. So in this case, again, I get kind of a benefit of playing against the solo AI. That's as if he was holding on to that card this whole time and never got to use it. So for me, I drew up my I get my starting leaders like normal. I drew my starting action cards like normal. One of them happened to be the Saw Gerrera card, which I have already put away, but I actually get 5 leaders to begin with. I get to start with Saw Gerrera, and I just had to push this back to 15. So I actually start the game in a bigger hole because Saw Gerrera is not as popular, but it's too hard to pass up getting that card. That one was added in the expansion. It is a starter card, so you have like a 1 in 3 or 4 chance of getting it, and it's one that pops up often enough, and I jump on top of it every time. Creating my mission deck and my objective deck are exactly the same. There was a single card, I think it's Heart of the Empire, that I removed from the objective decks before I make my random selections, just because it has no way to resolve it against the AI. For the solo AI player, what we're going to be doing is keeping the starting mission cards off to the side throughout the game here, and each round we're going to create their mission stack that they're going to do the missions from by choosing a certain number of mission cards, starting mission cards, and then a certain number of standard mission cards from the top of the deck here. I also he tells you to mix in one each of the projects that there's basically duplicates of. So there are already some projects mixed in here, and then there's the standard projects here. So we could see a project pop up even in this first round because I just randomly shuffled them. They're going to gain probe cards the same way, but if ever it gets to the point where I have to use my card that is, what is the name of that card? Rapid Mobilization and Escape. I actually get to take all of the remote locations, even if they have pulled that probe card, as long as they don't have a foothold on that system, and I get to choose again, throw them all back in the system. And so that's pretty much setup. Setup was not that bad, difference-wise, compared to the base game. So, again, he kind of tells you how to add out the players, and he tells you a few ways, a few additional things to add into the mission deck, and he has you go ahead and draw a 5th leader for the Empire. Most of that was, I was able to just use a D6 to accomplish, and so at this point, the game is set up for me. So, let's get started on how we go about activating the solo AI. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take a second to make my decisions as to what I want to do here. And so I have my starting 4 cards, and then I get to draw 2 mission cards here. And I don't have Chirrut Imwe. Behind enemy lines, resolve in a subjugated or rebel system, move up to 5 units. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do rebel. So let's go ahead and start getting, so I'm going to do these 2 missions, and now normally I would place them face down, but I'm just going to place them face up, you know, because no one else is going to steal that information from me. So here are my 2 missions I'm going to go on. Let's send Mon Mothma to build an alliance. Let's send Saw Gerrera to sabotage. And I guess I will save some people. I may, although my troops are pretty thin, I'll save some people to try and defy the Empire here. Alright, so I've made my decision. Now what we need to do for the AI is look at our handy-dandy rule sheet here. So a few things that I have printed off that come in handy. First of all, this is his revised rule set version 1.2. This is a 4-page printout. It's nothing but text. So pretty straightforward. So obviously I have that printed off. I also have this map that another user had created. It's also on BGG. I'll try and put a link to that below. What this is going to help me with is determining when I need to decide where to put out a leader. If it just says place in an Imperial location, I need to help decide, all right, what is the most beneficial to the Empire location? And so this map, even though it's just in black and white, is real nice because, see, Mon Calamari has got 2 dark symbols. Here's 2 dark symbols. Here's 2 dark symbols. And I also know that square beats circle beats triangle, just in the rank order of things. So this is a real easy way for me. I just have this sitting off to the side. And when I need to start making decisions for the Empire, I'm just going to use this. There's also this card decision making list. This was created specifically for this solo AI setup, and this basically just takes all the cards, action cards assignments, action cards start of combat. So let's see if he says more dangerous than you realize. More dangerous than you realize. So here he has given instructions. Add 3 to a randomly selected tactics value of the Imperial leader during this combat. So I'm going to take this card back because they have figured out how to make this work in this system. So this is just a handy reference sheet if you ever are thinking, how would I resolve this card? They've probably already figured it out. Again, this is from a different user on BGG. I will try and put a link to that in the description below as well. And last but not least, I have... This is the original rules from Dale Buonocore here, but somebody had taken them and just condensed them into a 2-page sheet, which all of this is stuff to read over and then set up. But then this second one on the back here is pretty handy for understanding battles, refresh phase, command phase, things like that. And right here is what we're going to be looking at, the mission table. Turn 1, we're going to use 2 missions, 1 starting and 1 from the main deck. And then turns 2 through 3 is going to be 1 starting mission and 2 main missions. And then after that, it's going to be 1 starting mission and 3 main missions. So again, these are all just, if you have a printer, something that can help you get through this pretty easily. So back to the game. Here are my starting mission cards. Again, these are completely unknown to me. I know what they are, but I don't know which one I'm going to draw. So I just take this and I add it to a stack, and then I'm going to take the top mission card. And so there's only 2 now, so it really doesn't matter. I could sit here and shuffle them up long enough that I don't remember. And that's already happened. I don't remember which one was which. So here we go. That is theirs. We don't assign any leaders yet at the moment. All we do is just have that stack there. So, all right. Now, that is all we need to do for the Empire. So we've got their action cards here set out so we don't forget them. I don't think we're going to be getting into combat. I've got my assignments. All right, so now we go into a standard turn for me. And I need to decide... yeah, I really saved these guys just for troop movement. And you know what I'm going to do, actually, before we get started here, is go ahead and play this one as well. So, Rebel planning, assignment phase, place this leader in the Rebel base space, then draw 1 objective card. So he actually gets put up here, he goes way up there. This card is no longer active, but it allows me to draw a 2nd objective card. All right. There, now I don't feel like I have so many extra people. Okay, so let's send Saw Gerrera to sabotage. Attempt in any system. If successful, you may destroy a shield bunker in this system. If the system is populous, you may instead place a sabotage marker in this system. So I could go here. Grand Moff Tarkin's there, which is not a problem because Grand Moff Tarkin does not have any fight statistics, whereas Saw Gerrera has 1 and then 2 little ones, so I guess that comes out to 2. But if I could sabotage Corellia, that is one of their better productions. Mustafar is also really good, but Mustafar is only subjugated, so they're only getting the left one. The next best one for them, I guess, would be no? Looking at their sheet here, maybe an ATST, but I'm going to go for Corellia. This also means, yeah, I'm just going to go here. I've made my decision. So, all right. So Saw Gerrera is attempting to sabotage Corellia. Now, in a 2-player game, the other player, the Empire player, would decide whether or not they wanted to oppose you. And so how we do that is simply to understand, first of all, that there are 2 missions still in their deck. And how many total people do they have? They have a total of 4. So they have an excess of people. Because the reason you have to determine if there's an excess is because they always have to complete their missions. Because normally a player would have to assign someone to a mission, and that player is locked into that mission. So if they assigned Darth Vader to a mission, they wouldn't be able to send him off to oppose Saw Gerrera, who is probably the smartest person, although Krennic's Finest here has 4 symbols, so he's actually better. Anyways, it's a simple D6 roll. On a 4 through 6, they will oppose. On a 1, 2, or 3, they're going to leave me alone. So, all right, so they are sending someone to oppose. I'm I'm going to send Krennic's Finest here for them because he actually has 4 symbols. 2 Saw Gerrera is 3. So since we are using green dice now, we're going to have to roll 1 at a time. All right. Oops, sorry, that was loud. It's probably not the best place to keep the dice. Okay. All right, so we'll roll for Saw first. So since he's got the 2 little symbols, that is 2 green dice and 1 red die for the strength. All right, so 2 hits, and then the Empire gets 2 blacks and then these 2 greens. So. 1, 2, 3. All right, so the Empire did successfully oppose me. All right, I don't want to keep my dice in there. It's too loud. Okay. So I was unsuccessful there. All right, now moving on to the AI's turn. Normally, the Empire player would have the chance to reveal a mission or send someone out to move troops around. They always want to reveal their missions first, and they go through their missions and then they start moving troops around. So they take this top card, you flip it over, and it says deployment. Attempt in any system that does not contain rebel units and does not have rebel loyalty. If successful, gain 1 either stormtrooper or TIE fighter or TIE striker or assault tank, if you include the expansion. Ground unit. Okay. So stormtrooper or assault tank in this system. Okay, so looking at this, it needs at least 2. And so Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine both fit that description. If for some reason I didn't have someone that could meet this goal, I would take this card knowing that it's not a starting card, put on the bottom of that mission deck, and draw a new one from the top of the main mission deck. If it was a starting card, I'd put it at the bottom of my little starting card deck and draw a new starting card one. So you always want to make sure that the Empire gets to complete the number of missions based upon what turn it is. So looking at these 2 characters here, Emperor Palpatine has the best statistics in diplomacy, and so now he is going to attempt in any system that does not contain a rebel unit. So let's go back here and see how good this sheet is that goes through all of the cards. So this is action cards. This is not a rebel card. This is an Empire card. And this is not in here. So this is an expansion card. I'm wondering if this does not contain expansions. Okay. So what they are going to do at this point, since they're not giving us specific instructions, I'm going to go back to this map that I have here, and we're going to look at the most productive place, because putting a ground unit there would allow us to subjugate the system. And so they're going to look at, well, they can't take Mon Calamari, they can't take Utapau, they already have Mustafar and Corellia. Next, we can look at Cato Nemoidia, Ord Mantell, and Toydaria. And so Ord Mantell actually looks like it's got the best option. So again, Imperial rule. If I was the Empire player, I would want to send someone here to Ord Mantell. And I specifically held people back to do this, so I'm going to send Princess Leia to oppose him. All right, so it is going to be, since we're not using green dice, I can just do a straight roll off here. 3 to 2. The rebellion is red, the Empire is black, and we just need to tie or have more hits. Ooh, and the crossed sabers are double, so this is 4 to 1. We crushed Emperor Palpatine. Yes, Princess Leia, you can do it. All right. I'm gonna put these up here or something. Okay. My one gripe about this game is that the board is enormous, leaving not much room on the table for anything else. Anyways, gripe over with. So I was successful with this. Since this is not a starting mission card, it needs to go into a discard pile. We'll put it over there. And now it's back to me. And I only have one mission to take on, so I'm going to build an alliance. Attempt in any populous system. If there are rebel units in this system, roll 2 additional dice. So what did I say I wanted Utapau first? So we're going to go up here and attempt in Utapau. And we need to decide if the Empire is going to oppose me or not. And they are. And looking at their characters here, Tag is useless. But even if Tag was the only one left, they would still send General Tag to force me to roll at least 1 success. Otherwise, they're going to send Darth Vader here. But I get to roll 2 additional dice, so I'm actually going to be rolling 5 to his 3. And I just have to get more successes than him. So here we go. Okay, I was successful because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 to his just 1. So very good on Mon Mothma there. So I get to add Rebel Loyalty to Utapau, which is very important early on in the game because we're about to have a production phase here in this very next round. And all right, and so I get this back, and we are back over here. So at this point, they only have one person. Capture Rebel Operative. Luckily, General Tag does have that fight. Well, not luckily, not lucky for me. Attempt against a rebel leader that is in a system that contains an Imperial unit. If successful, capture that leader. Well, that is only one spot, and this is bad news for me because all Krennic's finest is also going to get to join the fight here. So this could be good. This could be bad for Saw Gerrera here. So they're actually getting 1, 2, 3, and 2 green. So let's roll the Empire first. 1, 2, 3 to 2 green. Saw Gerrera. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and oppose this. So I can send General Riken in here. Saw Gerrera is already here. And I'm pretty sure that he gets to roll his dice as well. So that'll even the odds a little bit. So there's a lot of people activating on Corellia right now. Oops. Flying. Alright. So pretty good roll for me here, or for them. Only 3. So 3 successes. I need to pull these out. I can take the green ones, keep those off to the side. So I'm getting 2 reds and 2 greens, and I just need to beat 3 successes to keep Saw Gerrera out of trouble. Oh, and I only got 1. Okay, so this leader is captured. Let me get the little ring for him. I always felt it was a little unfair that the Empire got to start right off the bat with this card. But I guess also, technically, I have to, as the Rebel player, get bold and go into Imperial territory with said stuff. So, all right, here we go. Man, there's Fantasy Flight bases. Okay, so Saw Gerrera is captured. He is essentially on this assault carrier. So if this assault carrier moves, he moves with it. But if they retreat, he stays on Corellia. So that's just the rules. Normally, the Empire could decide whether he would travel or not. But the rules for the AI state just that. Okay, so at this point we have sent everybody out. So I get to bring Let's bring everybody back. Boom, 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 and Jando Donna. Okay, so really the only difference between the refresh phase in the solo AI is that they, first of all, will only draw one action card. Oh, and we need to do this. So this was an immediate one. They went ahead and put this here, so they get to put a shield bunker on Mustafar. So shield bunker for them. All right. Glad it wasn't Ryloth. Okay, so they're done with this card. This goes back into their thing. They only get one card now, and they just have to choose from that. It is a single person. And so it is, what is this guy's name? Admiral Piet? No, Piet's General Veers. Okay, so they get General Veers added, and this says start of combat, so these are both start of combat. So I just leave them there to remember that if combat starts, they will definitely use those 2 action cards. And they get 2 probe cards. All right, and so they got Magito and Rhodia. Neither one of them, where is Magito? Okay, yeah, Magito's over here. So they know that those 2 are not the location. What I'm going to do is, and I forgot to pull out my probe card, is if I get a remote location, I'm going to put that card on that location. That's going to help me determine that when the Empire starts moving, it's not going to go to a location it has a probe card out for. It's definitely moving towards these remote locations. Anytime it moves, that's its kind of priority target. And if it knows that it's not, say, Endor or Hoth, it's not going to move in those directions. So those cards on the table will help me determine that I should not head that direction. Okay, so let me resolve my cleanup here. So what they do, they get a project added here, and it says to just put it on top. I have felt like then that's really changes the dynamic of how the AI player plays. So I take it and I just shuffle it in to their mission deck. All right, because there's already some projects shuffled in there, so now there's even more projects shuffled in. Okay, all right. I get, let's see, I will go ahead and just go through my things here. Take an objective card, take 2 more mission cards. Let me draw 2 action cards here and choose. We get either Lando Calrissian or Chewbacca, Wookiee Guardian special. When your opponent attempts a Spec Ops mission before rolling dice, the mission automatically fails. Now that is nice. Or place this leader in any subjugated system. The Imperial player must move all his ground units from this system to any one Imperial system of his choice, ignoring adjacency and transport. But the Wookiee Guardian is too good to pass up. Plus, I love me some Chewbacca. So we are going to go with Chewbacca, adding him. All fight and fur in that guy. All right. Okay. So I believe, just in general, I have gone through all of the steps of the refresh phase. Retrieve leaders, draw missions, launch pro cards, did that, draw objectives, advance the time marker, and oh, does the Imperial player not get a project card each time? Am I just remembering all this incorrectly? Hold on. Refresh phase. Imperial player draws one objective card, launches probe cards. Each player draws 2 mission cards, and if there are more than 10 cards in his hand, he draws down to 10 cards. Retrieve leaders. Advance time marker. So no. Man. I think the last time I played, I was given the Empire player a project card every time. Okay, I'm just going to remember not to do that. I already shuffled it in there, and I don't even know what it was. But okay, so that's what it is. They don't get a project card every time, but if they go and are in search of project cards, it normally is added to their hand. That's why they draw it immediately. Okay, that makes sense now. My remembrance of the rules was way off in favor of the Empire. So, all right. So at this point, we need to go through the build phase, which is kind of long and cumbersome, so I'm going to pause the video and just come back once I have completed it. But essentially, the build phase acts like normal. The only thing that you need to understand for the AI is how to deploy it, and the printed off instructions are very clear about that. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and finish up the video. Okay, so I went through and built everything based on, standard build rules. And then what I did was again, looking at the strongest production system that they have, which we already established as Corellia, but I have that map. And so then I looked at it and it was like Corellia, then Mustafar, then Sullust, and then it was kind of a toss-up between Salukami or Mandalore. Mandalore has 2 things, and so I went there. But basically, I went here and said, okay, it was like this. I said, well, there's a tie. There's 3 space units and 3 ground units. If there was, say, only 2 ground units, I would have taken the strongest ground unit and placed it there. Since it was a tie, I rolled a d6. It ended up being space, so it got the strongest space unit that was being deployed. Then I went over here and said, okay, same thing, but at that point I only had ground units. So basically went back through. But basically what you're attempting to do is always beef up the people who are in the biggest production systems, and you're trying to even out the units. So for example, like here, they already had an AT-ST, so I gave them the assault tank because those are both the same symbol. And or no, maybe stormtrooper versus assault tank. I don't remember what it was, but essentially you're just trying to even things out for the Empire, protecting their most production heavy places. So and then everything shifts down like normal. You can see that in 2 turns here there's going to be a massive pile of stuff coming off. I have, because of Utapau and Mon Calamari, have 2 Mon Cal cruisers coming off, but he has 2 Star Destroyers coming off because of his Grand Moff Tarkin going out, and then keeping Corellia, which is a pain. He's also got the Death Star, which is going to be under construction. Just a whole big mess of stuff for him. So, but at this point, we would go ahead and start a new round. So I'm actually going to stop the video here. We have discussed how to set up the game, what the differences are for setting up for the solo AI. We have discussed how to go about and go through the various steps of each round for the solo AI, and how to resolve any tough decisions. Again, always pick what's best for the Empire. That's the Imperial rule. That's pretty standard for any solo game where you're having to control the AI. Make it tough for the human player, because that's what Cutthroat Human would be doing. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you would like to see the remainder of this campaign on video, I'm going to leave this set up for a little while, see what the feedback is for people in the comment section below. If this seems like something you guys would like to see me carry on and continue on camera, I will certainly do that and make it kind of a showcase similar to Sleeping Gods. We'll put the whole game, which it's going to be a lengthy game, several videos long, up on the channel. If not, if this was all you guys cared to see and you're going to go out and play the game yourself now solo, more power to you, and we'll stop right here and I'll just simply play without having to talk through everything. One other thing I wanted to point out is that you can still get this game. It is still available. It's not a cheap game. It's like MSRP is around $100. Sometimes you can find it for sale, but it is Fantasy Flight, so it is map restrictions and all that. But there are plenty of really nice mods for Tabletop Simulator that are Star Wars Rebellion. That's actually how I played this solo AI the first time, because it took up so much table space and I didn't have a dedicated area to set up my game. I had Tabletop Simulator and I went and played using the solo AI rules using Tabletop Simulator, and it works. So if you don't own this game already and don't want to drop the money on it, go get your Tabletop Simulator for $20 and you can play this game. Like I said, there's more than one great mods to Tabletop Simulator that allows you to play this on the computer, and then you could even, if someone else you know has it, you can play against them head to head. So anyways, just a suggestion for you. Other than that, thank you for watching. Have a great day.